Hello, hello! How are you guys doing? I see we've got around, 900 people watching. Please make sure you've hit the like button. That's the thumbs up icon under the video. Let me know also where you're tuning in from, what city, what galaxy, what village, what town. Let me know in the comments. Let's go, let's go. We're gonna get, I'm gonna break down everything that's happened, of course. There it is. There it is. Germany. Berlin, New York, California, Mannheim, also in Germany, Florida, Moscow, Peru, Munich. It's going too fast. Uganda, San Francisco, Bangalore, India, Northern California, Texas, Bulgaria, California, Scotland, Morocco, Toronto, Hungary, Johannesburg, Philippines, Denmark, Scotland, Chicago, Syria, New York City, the UK, Spain, Amsterdam, Brooklyn, and someone's in Antarctica. We've got a penguin with us. Detroit, and on and on and on. Wow, look at this. Are you guys amazing? And Claudia, of course, kindly points out that she's tuning in from the Kremlin basement, right? Oh man, this is quite the last 24 hours, right? So let's get into it, okay? And keep it coming in the chat. Keep it coming. Give me a sec here. Let's pull up our relevant documents. Okay, hold on. Okay, perfect. So, it's all over. It's all over. Prigozhin has reached a deal with Putin, and this was mediated by Lukashenko, so the Belarusian president. And you know, I'm gonna give you a brief recap before I go into detail about what happened, because some of you might be, you know, just arriving on the scene and you have no clue what the hell's happening. A coup? What coup? Well, a coup in quotation marks, right? So this is the video that I did for you guys yesterday, the stream. It's almost got 1 million views on Twitter, okay? So if you want to go watch the full thing, it's on Twitter. And it's also right here, of course, on the YouTube channel. Essentially, you have a man, this guy here, called Prigozhin. Mr. Prigozhin is a very rich businessman, right? He comes from catering, and he decided to raise a private army, which is called Wagner. And, you know, it's basically, I mean, some people call it mercenary group. No, not really. And of course, I've spoken about that at length and so on in this video. But he raised a private army, and they fought alongside the Russian armed forces in Bakhmut, right? In Ukraine. I mentioned Bakhmut, though, because that's the longest battle thus far in the entire Ukraine war. This is, of course, counting from 2022. And, you know, after this, despite winning this huge battle, you know, he decides to march on Moscow. And so yesterday, the FSB opened a criminal case against Mr. Prigozhin. They said that he's, you know, inciting armed rebellion. And he was, you know, he was like sending a convoy of his, you know, 25,000 troops. I'm not quite sure the whole 25,000 were there, but he said that he was going to send them to take back control, because he keeps lambasting the defense ministry and says they're incompetent, and he hates Shoigu, the defense minister, and so on and so on. But he crossed the line, right? They've tolerated his rants. He's been posting videos and messages every day. They've tolerated that, but this was a red line. So now everybody was saying, especially in Western media, oh my God, Russia's falling apart. Putin is going to be gone in a second now. You know, like it's so funny, because they were saying just yesterday, right? The whole time, Wagner are terrorists. Wagner are mercenaries. All they care about is money. And now, you know, they're moderate rebels, like in Syria. They're freedom fighters, right? Funny how that works. Let's get into it, okay? So, the gist of it is that, you know, a convoy arrived in Rostov. Now, if you can just see on the map here, it's quite the ways from Moscow, okay? So if you look at the distance here, it says 1,200 kilometers. Okay, so it's quite the drive, but you can get there fast enough if you're determined. And you know, they basically stopped in this town, and I'm going to show you all of these, but I think it's important that we listen to Putin, because Putin actually responded. You know, you have to understand that in this wild 24 hours, Zelensky had said nothing and Putin had said nothing until now. Let me play you their speeches, and then we'll continue. Here's an excerpt of Putin's speech.
Свободу граждан. Тот, кто организовал и готовил военный мятеж, кто поднял оружие на боевых товарищей, предали Россию и ответят за это. А тех, кого пытаются втянуть в это преступление, призываю не совершать роковую и трагическую, неповторимую ошибку. Сделать единственно правильный выбор. Прекратить участие в преступных действиях. Верю, что мы сбережем и отстоим то, что дорого и свято для нас. И вместе с нашей Родиной мы одолеем любые испытания. Станем еще сильнее.
I mean, let me put it this way. You know you screwed up when Putin goes and makes a speech about you. He didn't mention Prigozhin by name, but you know it's very clear who he's referring to. Okay, you know you screwed up. So here's Zelensky. Okay, don't worry. We won't have time to play all of them, but you know the whole speeches. But here we go.
Бажаю здоров'я, шановні українці. Бажаю здоров'я всі люди світу. Сьогодні день, коли точно не має бути тиші і точно потрібне лідерство. Сьогодні світ побачив, що господарі Росії нічого не контролюють. Взагалі нічого. Просто повний хаос, повна відсутність якоїсь передбачуваності. І це на російській...
I don't understand this. I don't understand this because we've been told by Zelensky and NATO and the EU that actually Russia is ruled by Vladimir Putin, you know, with an iron fist. He has an iron grip on Russia. He is so authoritarian that if you are one of his critics, he will go and poison you in London, right? He will find you wherever you are. That is how much Vladimir Putin controls Russia. And now suddenly, you know, we're doing a 180-degree flip and say, oh, look at this chaos around it. Putin's not in control. Putin's an idiot. Very interesting. I appreciate the contradictions and comedy that you're giving us. Here's another part of his speech.
Бажаю здоров'я, шановні. З Росією це реально підтримує. І третє, скажу по-руськи. Человек из Кремля, очевидно, очень боится и, наверное, прячется где-то, не показывается. Уверен, что уже не в Москве. Звонит куда-то, выпрашивает там что-то. Он знает, чего боится, потому что он сам создал эту угрозу. Все зло, все потери, вся ненависть. Он это сам распространяет. И чем дольше еще он сможет перебегать между своими бункерами, тем больше потеряет.
Are you reading a novel or something? I feel like this is... What the hell is he talking about, man? Like the guy... They released their speeches almost at the same time, and I'm pretty sure Putin is in Moscow. I know there were people posting, a flight plan or flight route of one of his planes. Sorry, but, I'm pretty sure the Russians, just like the Americans, you're not going to find that plane or be able to track it unless you're working on the other side, but it's not something you're going to find on Google. I really doubt that. In any case, this whole situation has been defused. So how did it so what happened in the first place? Well, look, you can see here, this is in Rostov. Okay, so this is Wagner at the Southern Military District headquarters in Rostov. Okay. Now, to be honest, it's just a bunch of tanks. I mean, I've seen more tanks at a military parade than that, right? I mean, if you've, just one example, one of the things, like if you've ever been in Paris on the 14th of July, obviously this is not really the column they made it out to be. You have some people here sitting in a cafe, okay, and people were then coming up, yet civilians coming up and blocking them, talking to the soldiers, playing music, trying to do anything to just kind of cordon them off. Give him a round of applause for his armored personnel carrier accordion. It's not bad. Someone also took graduation pictures. I think it was a marriage also. So I mean, it was kind of funny, honestly. People trying to make fun of make light of the situation. Putin was then speaking with Erdogan, so the Turkish president. He was also speaking with the leaders from Kazakhstan. He spoke to the Iranian. I can't remember if it's the foreign minister or the president. Basically, the Iranian government. Doesn't matter, right? And it's so funny because they're acting like, oh my God, Putin is about to lose control of the whole situation. And to be fair, just for argument's sake, anything is possible. Anything is possible. But once again, Prigozhin, the power struggle has always been between Prigozhin and Shoigu. Prigozhin has always, erred on the side of caution and avoided naming Putin or even referring to Putin indirectly. Okay. Now, that doesn't mean that this isn't problematic and chaotic, because it certainly is to an extent, but it's exaggerated and blown out of proportion in the Western media because, anything bad that happens to Russians is a great thing. Right? That's the mentality. But I want to show you here, this is Chris Murphy, right, senator. He said that a civil war inside Russia is potentially cataclysmic. And he's right. He's right in that sentence. The thing is that people were cheering this on the internet, thinking like, oh well, this is funny. I mean, the Civil War kind of took place mostly on the internet. Not one bullet was fired. Okay, I'm speaking figuratively, but really, not one shot was fired. Not one person was killed. All right, there were no fields of bodies or something like that. There was no Civil War. Could it have spiraled out of control? Yeah, anything's possible, like I said. But we'll get into the more of these things in a second. I just wanted to play you the voice note because Prigozhin confirmed what the Belarusian president's press service were saying, right? So I'll play you his voice note, and here, look, this is the Belarus embassy in the UK saying that President Lukashenko held talks with the head of Wagner, so Prigozhin, and they continued negotiations throughout the day. Prigozhin accepted the proposal of the president of Belarus to stop the movement of Wagner on the territory of Russia, right? So basically, go back and fight in Ukraine. That's what it is. And I think that is why you had a purported Chechen column of armored vehicles and a convoy of troops paused. And equally in Rostov, you had the Wagner. They were just they were stationed there and they remained in those positions, probably because you had these negotiations going on in the background. Yesterday, what did I tell you guys? And I'm going to repeat this again. We are talking about matters of national security. Okay, this is amidst a war, right? So it's happening during a war, one of the biggest wars, probably. Hopefully something that will end soon, but all these things, the developments, you don't see the developments. Yeah, you got people that are so certain of this and that, and you have to be, you have to take everything with a pinch of salt because these things happen in the shadows. All right, there are negotiations happening that you don't even know about, you never even hear about. There are things being done, people moving, people speaking, messages being conveyed behind the scenes that you'll never even know about. Okay, there's a lot happening. The majority of things concerning something like this, a scenario like this, you will never see them in public. You will never find out about them. But here's what we do have, and I'm going to show you. This is a voice message that Prigozhin sent on his Telegram channel to kind of, show that, yeah, I'm leaving and it's real. And let me play it for you. There's a translation on the right. You can see it there.
ЧВК «Вагнер» хотели расформировать. Мы вышли 23 июня на марш справедливости. За сутки мы прошли, не доходя 200 километров до Москвы. За это время мы не пролили ни одной капли крови наших бойцов. Сейчас наступил тот момент, когда кровь может пролиться. Поэтому, понимая всю ответственность за то, что будет пролита русская кровь с одной из сторон, мы разворачиваем свои колонны и уходим в обратном направлении в полевые лагеря согласно плану.
Here, I'm not quite sure if you guys could read it. Let me give you another. Here's another one. Hold on a second. Maybe this will be easier to read. Take a look. This one was from In Context from my outlet. There, hopefully text speaks for you.
Мы вышли 23 июня на марш справедливости. За сутки мы прошли, не доходя 200 километров до Москвы. За это время мы не пролили ни одной капли крови наших бойцов. Сейчас наступил тот момент, когда кровь может пролиться. Поэтому, понимая всю ответственность за то, что будет пролита русская кровь с одной из сторон, мы разворачиваем свои колонны и уходим в обратном направлении в полевые лагеря согласно плану.
There you go. That's the gist of it, right? And surely enough, they're going back. Let me show you some of these videos that they're unverified, but they're purported to be from Rostov, and you can see this sense of brotherhood, of fraternity, where people are hugging the Wagner soldiers, because at the end of the day, they're Russians, right? They're fighting alongside the Russian army, so they are literally brothers. And here's some of the footage. So they're celebrating the peace deal, right? Essentially. I saw some other videos of them. I saw some other videos of them handing out food and so on, and I mean, you know, it's good to see something defused with a little bit of diplomacy, and you know, I mean, here's I enjoyed this very much. Professor Marandi, he landed in Moscow, and he says he was quoting this CNN article that says Putin is at risk of losing his iron grip on power. The next 24 hours are critical. I mean, I'm sorry, this is a bit of an exaggeration. We are, you know, we're talking about Prigozhin, not Napoleon or Attila the Hun. You know, they're so disappointed. They are so disappointed in the NATO camp that this did not spiral out of control. Let me show you on CNN how they're crying about this. Oh no, the tragedy. They worked it out with diplomacy. Putin and Prigozhin and Lukashenko solved everything. Oh no, the disaster.
Do we think now the Prigozhin threat is over? No, I think it would be premature to suggest that. And indeed, he says the only reason he's turning around his columns on the way to Moscow, having, he says, got 200 kilometers within the city outskirts, is to stop bloodshed. He doesn't make a reference to a negotiation with the president of Belarus. That's done by the Belarusian president's own staff, suggesting that, in fact, Lukashenko intervened after speaking to Putin, and some sort of deal appears to have been hatched. But I don't think we know the entirety of it. It may be that there are going to be significant changes at the head of Russia's Ministry of Defense, but even if the ultimate targets of Prigozhin's march on Moscow end up being removed from their jobs, and that's the Defense Minister Shoigu, the head of the Ukrainian campaign, Gerasimov, and Chief of Staff, still, he's really crossed the Rubicon here, frankly, taking control of Rostov, moving through Voronezh, blockades put into Lipetsk, and putting that kind of military pressure on Putin, causing Putin to make that very stern speech today. It's quite clear that, to me, it will be hard to suddenly put the clock back and have Prigozhin a valued member of the Russian military establishment. So I think there are more details to come from this. I'm sure there are some who will say it's smart of Prigozhin not to send a relatively small column of Wagner forces into the massive million-strong metropolis of Moscow, where they're bound to, frankly, get lost amongst police forces trying to control such a vast area. But it is fair to look at the last 24 hours as a time which has significantly weakened Vladimir Putin, and I don't think we fully know the entirety of how that's played out.
Significantly weakened. I mean, I'm sorry, man. Maybe we have different definitions of weak, but if you're able to negotiate, or shall we say, resolve and defuse situations without using bombs, violence, that is actually strength, because it's more difficult, right? So, in case this wasn't obvious, the Russian Air Force could have obliterated Wagner in its entirety. And that was the claim. Remember a few days ago, that was the claim that, oh, the Russians had struck Wagner with missiles, which I find hard to believe, because I showed you the video last night. There's nothing there. There's literally no evidence of that. So, I don't know why the hell they were saying this, but 25,000, let's say even 35,000 versus what? We're talking hundreds of thousands of Russian troops. You're telling me that Putin was weakened by a column of 5 tanks in a town square? Jesus Christ! Like they try to twist it into something so you don't understand. This is not about the size of this column that was in Rostov. This is about the principle that, Prigozhin is supposed to do his job. It is not up to him to start questioning, the defense ministry. I mean, maybe in private, that's another matter. And they even let him do it in public for months and months and months. He was he was attacking Shoigu and saying, oh, the top brass are incompetent. You're not supporting us enough in the war, etc., etc. They let him do it, right? But he crossed the line here. It's not up to him to start directing columns towards the capital. It's so Prigozhin, but he really stepped out of line, and that is the principle that that is at stake here. Let me just pull something out for you here. Look at this video, yeah. Hold on, let me turn on the sound.
Вы умеете прощать?
Да. Но не все.
А что невозможно простить?
Предательство.
I think there are a lot of stronger words to describe what Prigozhin did. A lot of Russians are angry. They're not calling for heads to roll, but many people look at this as mutiny. Mutiny is when you don't obey your commanding officer, when you start trying to turn against the leadership. You usually, not always, but usually it refers to a ship. But mutiny can occur, here as well. The thing is that Prigozhin is not an officer. He's not even a non-commissioned officer, an NCO. He's not in the Russian military. So he has this very gray area kind of standing. And the thing is that, he was going to be out of a job, basically, because Putin was saying, I want you to sign, I want your troops, Wagner, every single one to sign a contract that they'll be integrated into the Russian military, meaning Prigozhin has no job really. Wagner will be dissolved, so to speak. The soldiers that are in Wagner would be inside the Russian military, period. So maybe, maybe that's the reason for this outburst. Shall we put it diplomatically and call it an outburst? The other thing is that maybe Bakhmut went to his head, because how many men did they lose there, the Russians? 10,000, 15,000, right? I think it's slightly more. The point is here, these are droves and droves of men, and it's on top of that, on top of the human cost, the losses. This is the longest battle in the war, and he won it, not the Russian military, even though they're fighting alongside each other. Yes, and they're all Russian. You get it? But he won it. And what was his quote-unquote reward? Oh, well, goodbye. We don't need you anymore, because we're going to have all the troops sign these contracts, and that's it. Maybe that's what went, maybe he was like, okay, screw this. Well, you don't want me anymore. I might as well just send a column of my boys to Moscow. I don't know. This is the thing, because you have a lot of theories floating around. Just before I continue, look at this. This is from the Atlantic. They're saying Russia slides into civil war. Is Putin facing his Tsar Nicholas II moment? By Anne Applebaum, of course. Jesus Christ. Talk about a propagandist. I mean, she has a head stuck up her. These people are nuts. They're nuts. They exaggerate things like beyond belief. So let's look at some of the let's try and analyze the situation, because one thing that some people suspect is that this was a psyop, right? A psychological operation, right? What is the objective and nature of a psyop? It's to confuse the enemy. You're doing counterintelligence. You're trying to confuse the enemy. You're trying to distract the enemy, right? You're trying to make the enemy waste resources. Can you just picture for a moment, in the Ukrainian military and in NATO, how many people they had running around the clock trying to figure out what the hell's going on? Is this for real? Is Prigozhin actually going to take on Putin? How many troops does Prigozhin have? Who is close to him? Who might betray him? Who is working for him secretly? What is Shoigu's standing? Maybe we should approach Prigozhin and give him money and weapons. Maybe we can use him against the Kremlin. How can we approach him? Maybe we can use this officer posing as someone, a million things. Do you know how many resources you've wasted now over, what is, again, let's call it an outburst, to put it mildly, right? Others say mutiny. I mean, they opened a criminal case against him. But we are just hypothesizing here. Remember, we're just speculating. Think how many resources and how much time you would waste for the enemy with something like this. And remember, the Russians are still, they're still pounding Ukrainian / NATO positions, right? Correct me if I'm wrong, but I saw they wiped out 2 airfields today, right? Among other targets. So this is very good if you want to distract not only on the battlefield. You want to trick, for example, Ukrainians into pouring resources, or NATO into pouring resources into some place where you give the impression you're weak, right? But on top of that, for the PR and media psyop, right? So I'm talking about propaganda value online, in print, in media, etc., etc. If you want something bad, you want to distract and take away attention from that, you might do something like this, or the opposite. You got an operation going, as I mentioned before, with these airfields, and you don't want them to think that you're in a strong position. You want the Ukraine and NATO to think that you're weak, when in fact you are very strong and you're going after their targets. These are just different theories and ideas of why this might have happened. The fact that the Belarusian president is intervening, not intervening, but mediating, right? He's trying to get both sides to calm down, defuse, and make peace, shake hands, etc. Doesn't matter. I mean, he could also be playing along. But I'm not going to sit here and tell you that this happened 100% because nobody knows what is going on for 100% now in Ukraine, and Ukraine and Russia, right? Because this is all part of the Ukraine war. Nobody knows. Like I told you, most of these things are happening in the shadows. Most of these things you will never ever see or know about. That's the truth. This is the name of the game, right? It's all secret. So one thing I wanted to add as well is that I think this is a strong suit of the Russians, right? Because another person in Putin's position might have sent his air force to flatten whatever column or person was threatening to march on Moscow. Even if you remember, Prigozhin always directed his anger at Shoigu and the generals. He never attacked Putin, and there was never he never crossed any line with Putin until now, right? But the fact that, if we're taking this at face value, that everything was fixed with a deal, then that's great. Look at how you can fix situations by mediating, right? Look at that as an example. Forget now, about the Ukraine war for a second. Just look at the element. Look at the principle here that I'm trying to convey. That you can fix things with diplomacy, with mediating. Similarly to the Chinese with Iran and Saudi Arabia not too long ago. Although that was much bigger and a different kind of issue. I posted this on Twitter. I said I'm standing by for CNN and company to upgrade Wagner from ruthless thugs to freedom fighters. Man, they were already starting to do it, They were already starting to do it because whoever attacks Putin for them is their friend, right? So I want to address something that this guy was saying here in the video that I showed you. Where they're talking about Shoigu stepping down, right? So these are just rumors for now, okay? I'm broadcasting right now. This is 11 p.m. Paris time, okay? So in Moscow, I think it might be 2 hours later. It's 1 a.m. It's a weekend. I mean, no, these people don't sleep though. But my point here is that these are just rumors for now, okay? It's June 24th, 11 p.m. Paris time. As of this moment, there is no confirmation that Defense Minister Shoigu is going to step down. I would, if that's what Prigozhin got after this outburst, remember, I say outburst, I'm being very generous and diplomatic. Wow. Because, who's going to replace Shoigu? Prigozhin? No. The Russian military would never stand for that. They would never stand for that. This guy is he's not from the military. I'm not saying that, he wasn't in the battlefield in Bakhmut and so on. Yeah, he has his own military. No one's debating or talking about that. But he doesn't have the rank to be defense minister. I know in some countries, they put civilians as defense ministers, which is a bit funny and weird. But I don't think that Putin is going to allow that to happen. And I'm purely speculating, right? And the reason is that anybody with an armored column is going to think they can get their way by threatening to march on Moscow, right? Now, again, these are just rumors, right? I don't see any of that being confirmed now. Nothing at all. These are only rumors. The other thing that we have to consider, we have to talk about, is the criminal case. Remember, the FSB, they opened a criminal case, an indictment against Prigozhin. So what's going to happen to that? Are they going to get rid of it? Are they going to close it? Is that part of the so-called deal? We don't know. And like I said, I think there are things that we will never find out about, or find out about in a very, very long time. I know this is a completely different, the example I want to give you is a completely different animal, but just the analogy here. You guys remember Cuban Missile Crisis? Everybody thought like, oh, well, the Russians are putting their missiles there and now removing them, and that's it. No. the Russians agreed to remove the missiles because the Americans said they'd remove theirs. The only thing is that they kept it secret. They didn't, you know, we know about it now, but they didn't want to tell anybody because they didn't want to give the appearance of, you know, of appeasing the Russians and so on, right? That's the analogy I'm trying to convey here. So there might be things in this so-called agreement between Shoigu and Lukashenko and Putin that we don't know about. But I don't want to exaggerate it and make it into some kind of you know, giant thing. That you have to understand here that this is good for Russia. The situation is calm, or calmer, shall we say calmer. That doesn't mean that it's 100% okay. What do you guys think is going to happen to Prigozhin? Because you know, is this guy still going to have a career after this? I think that Putin is going to want to integrate Wagner troops more than ever, especially after this. You know, because at any moment you're going to have Prigozhin with some tanks. Now, keep in mind, we are in this scenario. We are just taking the situation at face value and assuming everything is true, right? But again, take everything with a pinch of salt, please. So my point here is just that will Prigozhin have a career? I really don't know. I really don't know after this. That remains to be seen, and of course I will keep you guys up to date. But that's really it for now. Thank God cooler heads have prevailed, and a lot of things will be revealed as time goes on. And of course I'll always keep you up to date on the Ukraine war and international relations right here. Let me look at the chat. We've got 3,500 people watching. Well done. Guys, please hit the like button because we only have 1,400 likes. So it's very important you press the thumbs up because the algorithm tries to suppress independent media like my channel. So I really need you guys to share the video, to press the like button. It really helps the channel. We've got a comment here from Iron Felix. As the criminal case has been dropped, the FSB should hire some advisors from the RBKGB. So, you know, we're doing breaking news right now. So they probably did it. You know, I'm checking. I'm like glued to my phone. That's how I have to do my job, right? So probably as I'm speaking to you right now, they dropped it. Yeah. Here, let me pull up some of the other comments. You guys sent in some donations. Let me read them to you. By the way, we are live streaming on Rumble, on YouTube, on Rockfin, and on Odyssey. So thank you guys for watching on all of those. Just a second. We've got a super chat from DHB. It's just a super sticker, but thank you very much. And David Hart says, Scott Ritter says there was a plan to unleash terror cells in Moscow while Prigozhin was marching to Moscow, which would terrify the people of Moscow and ask for Wagner to come and save them. Says MI6 was behind it. Well, I'm not too aware of that. I'll tell you one thing though. Just today, as you mentioned, they did have these counterterrorism operations. Also, let me pull this up for you. There's a new law that the Russians, that Putin actually signed. So this wasn't passed necessarily by the Duma, but hold on, give me a sec to pull this up. Yeah, okay. So I'm glad you mentioned this so I can merge the two. So you can see here that Putin, he signed a law establishing the arrest for violation of martial law. Okay, and this is basically a law that says they can detain you under administrative arrest or administrative detention for up to 30 days. For up to 30 days, and this is against citizens who violate the above norms if their actions aren't criminally punishable. And administrative arrest for the same term is also envisaged for officials. Okay, so when you see that line, you know, you're sitting there wondering, is this for Prigozhin? I mean, again, Prigozhin is not a public servant and he's not in the military, right? He's in this, I mean, he's basically a private citizen who has a giant army. The thing is that I can't help but wonder why this was passed today at the same time as this whole fiasco. Does this mean, am I implying that Putin is going to go and put Prigozhin under administrative arrest? I don't know. No one knows, right? The CNN and the BBC will tell you, well, the Kremlin is plotting. Putin is going to pick something out of his Russian playbook, right? But I want to point your attention to the fact it says 30 days. 30 days. I mean, look, I'm somebody who has talked about administrative detention in Palestine, how the Israelis use a British law against Palestinians, and you know, it's actually 6 months. They can renew it every 6 months. You got guys in prison, Jesus, for years. So just as a matter of principle, I'm completely opposed to any form of administrative detention. You either charge someone or you let them go, right? I'm old school British, and in the good sense, right? This is a pillar of law. You know, the police in England, they can only detain you for 1 day without charge, and they have to let you go. Now, keep in mind, they've screwed around with that many times. During the Troubles, I think they extended it to 7 days. And then with the so-called War on Terror, with the Terrorism Act, which was kind of like a reform of the previous laws they used against the IRA and the Irish resistance fighters. You know, they screw around with this stuff, but it's a very important principle. Now, you know, is he doing this to send a message? I don't know. But keep in mind, this is... you know, there's a situation, there's a war between Russia and NATO, Russia and 50 countries. It's not just Ukraine, it's NATO plus another 20 countries, 50 countries in total. Both Ukraine and Russia are under martial law, right? So it's I don't want to go, I'm not going to go and say like, oh, this is the same as the Terrorism Act in the UK, or, you know, the all these violations of people's privacy and their rights in the US and UK after 2001. No, but I'm just trying to, and it's not the same as in Palestine, but as a matter of principle, you know, they shouldn't be able to just arrest people without charge. So I don't know if this is for Prigozhin or not, but, you know, I've thought to mention it to you guys, definitely, so you know what's going on. Thank you very much again for the super chats. You guys are very kind. And thank you to everybody who's signed up on Patreon. If you guys enjoy my work, if you find my work and my streams informative, please consider supporting the show. You can donate just $1 a month. Or actually, let's make it rubles, right? Since the rubles and renminbi, the yuan, anyone who speaks Mandarin, tell me I pronounced that correctly or not. Anyone who wants to support my work, please donate on Patreon, and you can do whatever you like. $2 a month, 3 rubles a month. It's monthly, and Claudia is very kind. She's posted the links below. So yeah, we are now, I think we're at 663, right? We're at 663 followers on, or rather patrons, and we're trying to get to 700. So I need your support, guys, to get there. All right, we just need about 20 people to sign up. We've got Stefan on Patreon, Stacy, Emilio, Progressive Geek, Natalia K, Anthony. Wow, there's a lot of you. Perry and John, who all signed up today and yesterday. I appreciate that very much, guys. We're almost there. We're almost there. We need just about 25 people to sign up. Actually, a bit more. It's 35 people, and we'll get there. All right. So let me play a crab dance for you guys. Let's go.
Clap for that, you stupid bastard. Corn Pop was a bad dude, and he ran a bunch of bad boys.
Listen, fuckhead, you have fucking crossed the line, claiming I'm the enemy. You got that, you goddamn son of a bitch?
I don't give a fuck what you think, bitch.
Good morning. Sunday morning.
Cut that bitch off.
Thank you for Iron Dome, which is a technical marvel.
والله انت كلاب بصراحة يعني. ماشي نشتغل عادي.
We lied, we cheated, we stole.
China.
And you ain't black.
There's always the macro, and then there's the micro.
Do not come. Do not come.
I'm gonna come.
You talking to me?
Ladies and gentlemen,
I'll have 2 number 9s. Number 9 large.
we got him.
I told myself, I know it's not.
I've fallen and I can't get up.
Very much. Just let me just add something about this situation in Russia, because as I was literally, I mean, as I'm live with you right now, there's an update. Okay, so let me just show you this. Okay, give me a second. So here, one moment. Here we go. Okay, so just to keep you guys informed, the Kremlin, they've dropped the charges against Prigozhin. Okay, I they overuse this word, the Kremlin, like as if everything is controlled through there. You know, they Russia has institutions, and you know, they should respect that. In any case, just to keep you guys in the loop, they have dropped the charges against Prigozhin. Okay, so here you can see, this is from Sky News. They say the Kremlin in a statement said all criminal charges against Prigozhin will be dropped and none of the Wagner group fighters will be prosecuted. So, you know, I figured that might be part of the deal, but I didn't want to go ahead and tell you something, you know, that I didn't know to be true. I suppose this might be the extent, like that's as far as Putin and the Kremlin are gonna go, because, you know, again, this is not about, oh, Putin and he's like some kind of some king who decides everything. You have to understand that Russia, you know, it has a constitution, it has a military, it has its armed forces, which have fought bravely and crushed the Nazis in World War II. You know, you can't. There comes a point where Wagner has to be merged with the Russian army, because they, you know, Prigozhin won in Bakhmut, and he did very well, but, you know, he can't just be running around. This is exactly why you have to integrate the forces and have order. You know, that's the nature of the military, and especially you're at war. This is wartime. Russia is not, you know, this is not a utopia where NATO doesn't exist, and you know, Russia isn't surrounded by a handful of NATO countries. Russia is at war. Russia is being threatened. And I know Prigozhin yesterday, he did this video 30 minutes long, and he said, oh, Putin lied about the reasons for the war, Putin this and that. I don't really care about those, because he's not citing the right reasons. He is saying things like, oh, Ukraine and NATO were going to plan some attack, and there was a giant, you know, threat that was looming over Russia and on February 24th, 2022. Dude, that threat has been looming for a long time, you know? Once again, I always say this, if we were in the Cold War, maybe we can have a different discussion about what NATO is and what it should be doing. But we are not. The Soviet Union doesn't exist. And NATO expanding and encircling Russia is a threat. And of course, he never mentions that, because, you know, that is one of the main reasons for this you know, this chaos, this cataclysm that has been unleashed. And it's really just a continuation of 2014 with Maidan coup, color revolution before that. I mean, I'm talking about 2009, and then of course, you know, this goes back 100 years. We've been screwing with the Russians, and you know, the UK invaded Russia. The US invaded Russia. There are many threats that Russia's faced, and he just acts like it's something with, oh, you know, it's a bunch of rich people and Shoigu wants a medal. Who the hell's talking about Shoigu? It's only you, man. I know you don't like the guy, but maybe he's incompetent. Maybe all of the things you say are true. But I really doubt that Russia, you know, went into Ukraine because of Shoigu wanting a medal. What is this garbage? In any case, good thing it's over and they sorted this out. You know, hopefully the whole goddamn war comes to an end, because guess what? It's bad for the. I mean. It's not only bad for people in Ukraine and Russia, it's you know, if you have something like this on top of it, And I don't think it was as exaggerated, this situation, as much as they say in the Western media, because they want it to spiral out of control, but it's not good. It's even Chris Murphy, who's a U.S. senator, is saying that a civil war in Russia is cataclysmic. Okay, now I don't think Prigozhin is exactly civil war material, but you never know. You never know. We shouldn't be so certain of things. Always take things with a pinch of salt, and there you go. Good for him, I suppose, that they dropped the charges. We'll see what happens with his career. I don't know if he's going to stick around much longer, but we'll see. I mean, I'd be terrified if I were him. I'd be looking over my shoulder permanently. Not because Putin is the boogeyman that they make him out to be, and he's gonna come poison you. No, but he is the head of state, and you confronted him indirectly, and without he never it's not good. It is not good. Thank you, Mark, for joining on Patreon. I appreciate that very much. And there's some more super chats I wanted to read on YouTube. And I've got one more thing to talk about with you guys in a second. This is from Ari. Thank you very much, Ari. Emperor Forever says, can Claudia put together a montage of Western media crying over the failed coup? Oh, absolutely. Oh, absolutely. We have one from Umed Dolab, says, Salam and Hollanda Habibi. It's good to see your passionate reporting. May we see your uplifting streams for many years to come. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Shukran kthir. And ahlan wa sahlan. Jeff says, yeah, charges dropped. Thank you. Both you and Iron Felix were telling me that, because it happened while I'm streaming. So thank you, Jeff, and thank you, Iron Felix, and thank you guys, all of you. So the Crazy Puppet says, Prigozhin's act are the stupidest act ever. We are getting shot by Russian forces. Like, enemy would never think of going behind lines to shoot them in the back. I hope he enjoys his prison term. Yeah, I mean, this is a very good point. What makes him so certain that the Ukrainians haven't flanked him? I mean, this is not rocket science. And I don't understand. Where that video showed nothing, right? Nothing. Did you guys see anything? It was a bunch of broken trees that anyone could have done that. There was no wreckage. There's no metal. Nothing at all. You're supposed to have pieces of bits of metal from shrapnel from the missile, casualties. Nothing. So I don't know what, if somebody lied to him or he just made that up, but that was stupid. Making this up, and not provided says, hold on, I'll read their comment. Not provided says, do you think U.S. intelligence are sowing discord? Yeah, I mean, of course. They would be stupid and incompetent and inept if they weren't. I mean, of course, that's the first thing you do. And like I said, there are many avenues that you can use to approach this situation with Prigozhin, because you could on the one hand leave them alone and let them basically kill each other off. This is hypothetically, right? We don't exaggerate the situation, but we're talking about hypotheticals. I can give you an analogy. How about, for example, in Syria, when you had ISIS fighting against other extremist groups, or the Kurdish militias that are allied with the US. For the Syrian government, this is great, because they're getting rid of each other, and the Syrian army doesn't have to go in and do anything, right? So that's one thing that comes to mind. So the American position, the NATO position, the Ukrainian position in this case is, let Prigozhin and Putin fight with each other. We're not going to get involved. The maximum that they did, this is of course ostensibly from what we can see. And I told you, you don't see most of what's happening. But just ostensibly, Zelensky made a video. Wow. So what? Did he say anything new? No. What I'm interested in is what was happening behind the scenes. Okay? Because I can bet you that you mentioned U.S. intelligence. I bet you anything you like that they were fermenting and sowing discord. Absolutely. And that's 24/7, with or without Prigozhin. Another thing that you would do if you were in U.S. intelligence, you would try and recruit Prigozhin or use him as an asset. This is, again, it's just one of the options, either directly or indirectly. If you can do it indirectly, it's even better, right? You might you get somebody from another country to do it for you. So a third party could be a NATO country or what, take your pick. So actually, he would never even know that he's working or doing anything for U.S. intelligence. Again, these are just hypotheticals, okay? We don't know if this happened. But definitely. They would be inept and stupid and really bad at their jobs if they weren't exploiting the situation as much as they can. That's the unfortunate truth about warfare and counterintelligence. And thank you very much, though. Not provided for the super chat. Not provided says also smash the like button, and I wholeheartedly agree and echo their sentiment. I wanted to show you guys something over here. So let me get this tab open for you. Okay. Very, very cool. So there was a protest today at Parliament Square in London, and I told you guys and urged you guys to go there. I wanted to show you some of the pictures and videos of the protest for Julian Assange. People came out to support. There you can see the Houses of Parliament behind. Let me play you a video from Julian Assange's wife, from Stella.
I'm getting asked, where are we at? Well, we're really at the end game now. The fight is on. This is my message. Yes, the legal avenues have narrowed dramatically, but we were ready for this, right? We know what kind of battle we're fighting. A political battle, a fight against injustice, where people speaking out, witnessing this injustice, and giving it a name is what will stop it. This statue here today has this message, anything to say. These three men are everyman. Yes. They witnessed injustice and they spoke up. And we need to speak up just like they did. Definitely. Because that's what makes us human. Yes. By gagging them, by imprisoning them, by punishing them, they're punishing all of us. Yes. Because they told us what we needed to know about injustice being carried out in our name against us. Julian depends on each and every one of you, and every person you can speak to inform them, to move them into understanding what's at stake. And what's at stake is democracy itself. Yes. The case against Julian goes to the heart, the fundamentals of what it means to live in an open, democratic society where we can challenge authority, where we can speak up, whether we're right or wrong. We have to be able to speak, to refine our ideas, to be able to be challenged. And just because there are people in position of authority, they're abusing their authority, they're abusing the legislation, they're abusing the surveillance tools that have been developed over the last decade or so, and they're abusing the coercive powers of the state, physical and digital, to prevent you from speaking out. We are losing our rights. Julian's case is caught up in a trajectory in which we are all losing our rights. And the right to freedom of speech is at the center of all our democratic rights. It underpins everything. We will lose all our rights if we lose the freedom of speech. And Julian's case is the most righteous case of freedom of speech today, in our generation, in this century. We have to free him. His life depends on it, but all our lives and our liberties also depend on it. Thank you. Free Julian Assange.
Well done, well done. Very good speech by Stella. You know, I know that people tend to perhaps you know, overuse this term like, oh, it's a fight for freedom and so on. But she's right. In this case, every word she said is correct and true. And you know, we're getting a lot of new subscribers here. So for those of you who don't know, Julian Assange, they're trying to extradite him from the UK to the US, right? And I've been covering his trial, or case rather, for the last 2-3 years. So if you've heard of the case, or you've heard of Assange, but you don't really know the gist of it, I'll tell you in just a moment. But I want you to know there are playlists. So I've done playlists in order every single day by day, explaining what happened in court. There's the main chunk that took place over 4 weeks in autumn, and then the High Court and the appeal and so on. So I've separated everything chronologically in these playlists. Basically, it's very simple. You know, he published or WikiLeaks published documents about war crimes in Iraq, war crimes in Afghanistan. These are U.S. war crimes, and then also the Guantanamo Bay prisoners or detainees. And then also the State Department files. I mean, it's like a treasure trove, you know. For me, if this is like Christmas, just going through them, you know. And that's why they're indicting him. You know, it's. I think a lot of people have not a lot, but there's a good chunk of people that have been like brainwashed by the media and propagandized. And so they have this association of like, oh, Julian Assange, Donald Trump, Hillary Clinton, like this like wild nut job conspiracy theory, like somehow him doing his job helped Donald Trump win. You do know that Donald Trump is the one who's trying to extradite him and put him in prison for 2 centuries, right? You do understand this? I really doubt Julian Assange has any nice feelings or thoughts about Donald Trump, never mind helping him win an election. And I want to be very clear that, this whole case is like nothing even to do even with that whole election, right? So forget this misconception that you might have of, oh, Julian Assange and Hillary Clinton. Remove this from your mind. It's nonsense that they fed you from the media. This case is about war crimes, that evidence of war crimes he published. It's from talking about 2010, 2011, and so on. So that's it. It's period. Nothing more, nothing less. And the problem with this, why it's so bad. I mean, Americans are supposed to have stronger, constitutional rights and protections. For free speech in the United States, they're supposed to have better ones than in England. There's no constitution in England, right? So there's a collection of documents like the Bill of Rights and so on, but there's no actual constitution, and it doesn't really matter. But because Bill of Rights and so on, they're supposed to afford you certain protections, but the American one is, on paper at least, it looks ironclad. And here's the truth. It's not. And if you have this case going ahead, this is bad for people in the UK and the US. Do you understand? And Julian Assange is not just some random journalist. He is one of the top dogs, right? One of the best. So, I mean, even if this was happening to another journalist, doesn't make it okay. That's not my point. My point is that if they can do this in the open, in public, in central London, to a top journalist, what do you think other journalists? What chance do you think other journalists stand? What do you think? What chance do other people stand? Right? It's about free speech. There's no like clause in the U.S. Constitution for journalists. It's just free speech. You could be a plumber, you're a skydiver, maybe you're, you flip burgers, you're a teacher. Doesn't matter. You have this right to free speech. You can publish whatever document you like. This is on paper, right? So, Julian Assange, whether he published them in the UK or the US is irrelevant, but I think it's scary. It is so scary that he is not in the US. He did not publish in the US, and this country is trying to like snatch him from across the Atlantic. What the hell? Like he has, what does that even mean? Can China like snatch? Do you think they would stand for this if China was quote unquote snatching a journalist, an American journalist from India, or just to give you a hypothetical scenario? They would go wild. They would go ballistic. And you can see actually right now how they talk about how Biden is like he's concerned for this American journalist who's been detained in Russia. Now, I'm not familiar with his case. My instinct is to say that's wrong, because usually when they say, I think it works Wall Street Journal, right? So usually when a state says this journalist is a spy, that's a lie. It's usually an excuse to put him in prison. Usually. So that's my instinct, is to say this is wrong. But I'm not familiar with this case, and I don't have to be, because my point here is about the reaction from the U.S. government. The hypocritical concern for an American journalist in Russia, but no concern for an Australian journalist in the United Kingdom who's trying to be taken to some federal supermax prison in Colorado by force. Do you see this hypocrisy? It's really, really bad. So there you go. The more people protest, the better. And well done to all of you who came out. I hope I was able to urge and encourage some of you to go. And I hope it was good. And hopefully Julian's free soon. Free Julian Assange. Okay, just a second. There's somebody who sent a super chat who I apologize, I can't read your name because of I'm not familiar with the alphabet, but is that Cyrillic? I can't see too well, but they said, "Hi Richard, I'm an old head from the poppy days. Glad to see how much you have grown your media outreach and still talking about the important things." Thank you so much. That makes me very happy, and I'm humbled to hear that, and I appreciate you and your comment. Thank you. That's very cool. That's very nice. And I'm I hope to continue doing that for you guys. And one thing I wanted to mention very briefly, because I mean, if you guys want to wait a few minutes for me to gather the videos, I mean, why not? We've done 10-hour streams before, and don't tempt me, because we can go there. But let me just hold on. I wanted to talk about this subject because it's so wild and disgusting. Give me a sec to put together the evidence to make my case, right? To do my report. So hold on. Basically, this is about, well, you'll see in a second. I had some of them bookmarked, so I'm trying to find them. You guys have to understand that every day I'm like delving and diving through like a million pieces of information, videos, articles, and I try my best to sort everything, but it's not messy, it's just a lot. Where the hell is all this stuff, man? Okay, I think I found one. Yeah, here's one. Jesus Christ. This is wild. Okay, here's one video. Let's put that together. I don't know why CNN is playing in the background. My sincerest apologies. I want to say one thing, actually. let me just add one more thing, okay? You know, my sincerest condolences, my heartfelt apologies for all the warmongers and people who wanted to see Russia implode, right? Oh no, you poor souls. Oh, were you gonna try to give Prigozhin a nuke or a dirty bomb or some, you know, a couple billion to take on Putin from the inside? You know, that's about as close as that's as close as you'll come to you know, a free Russia legion. When they mention that, it's a complete lie. It's made up of people from Poland, Ukraine, Brazil, wherever the hell, and then they pretend they're Russians. You know, like, oh, there are these Russians who are really like, you know, warriors and crusaders of democracy, and they will take on Putin. But alas, their dreams have collapsed. It even rhymes. So I'm so sorry for you know, all these people like Mrs. Applebaum, you know, and the other neoconservative scum who did not get to see Russia implode. What a shame. I mean, I know we've been trying to do this for 100 years and destroy Russia for 100 years, but it's just not your day, is it? Jesus, man. Here, I got a bunch of things. Okay, thank you. You guys are very kind. Thanks. Here, let me put these together. Oh boy. Okay, you guys do you know, I haven't even seen most of these because there are so many attacks on Palestinians by settlers that I can't keep up. But I'm going to present all of them to you here. This is, I want you to bookmark this video. I want you to remember this, okay? I want you to remember this because, yes, you know, the issue with Prigozhin is important. Yes, it has, you know, huge international ramifications. You know, don't worry. When I come here, when I do my job, when I come here and I do my job, I'll sit here for 10 hours, and I literally have, if I have to go through what's happening in Russia and Ukraine. But I want you guys to sit with me now when I go through this, because you know, this is really, really disgusting and outrageous, and people are going to be distracted. People are going to be distracted by what's happening in Russia and Ukraine. But, you know, this is important as well. So, hold on. This is one. I've got the same video a lot of times here. Actually, no, it's just, God. Let's go. Let's go through them, okay? So, guys, I want you to bookmark this video, and I want you to share this video and show people, because like I said, it's easy to get distracted by what's happening in Russia, Ukraine, and you guys know I'll sit here and do my job and cover it, but I want you to look at this. Look at how the Israeli settlers are attacking Palestinians. There are so many videos I can't keep up. Look at this. If you saw this video, you're you know, because most of my lovely subscribers are Americans, and if you saw this video, you would think maybe this is California, like there's a wildfire or a forest fire, right? No, this is actually in Palestine, right? This is Palestine. These are plantations. These are lands belonging to Palestinians that have been burnt by Israeli settlers. It's like pogroms, you know? You got just crowds of Israeli settlers, and I have many more videos that I'll show you in a second. This is right now happening today. So give it your attention. Please care about this and share and tell people. Look at this. Just insane. Here's more. You would think this is California, right? Or something of a forest fire. No. This is in Palestine. This is intentional, on purpose. Jesus. Here, I want to show you a video now. This is from a Palestinian woman. She's hiding inside her house and filming, showing us the cameras. You know, it's like a horror movie. It's like a horror movie. Look at this. She's inside, and this is the CCTV, the surveillance footage. You can see the Israeli settlers coming from everywhere and attacking her house. Jesus. She's saying, God, no. Oh, God, no. You know what? I feel like she's an anti-Semite, though, because she obviously is a Jew hater for filming this. That's like Netanyahu's reaction, you know? Oh, she's clearly an anti-Semite. She fabricated the footage. Yeah, sure. Here, this is, I'm not sure if I'm even allowed to show this because it's a bit, it's a bit too much. You know what I mean? It's too graphic. Here's more. Sorry. You see the Israeli settlers, they act with complete impunity because there's no one to hold them accountable. No one wants to, because this is, you know, you'll have people who say, well, this is probably because of Netanyahu. Look, you see, look at this entire group of people throwing stones and harassing Palestinians. See, burning their crops. You'll have people who think that this is because of Netanyahu. Like, if Netanyahu is gone, then you would have a so-called liberal Zionist prime minister, whatever that means. You know, I have breaking news for you. Far-right Zionist, far-left Zionist, Zionism equals this. This is what Zionism promotes and is, and that's the nature and form that it takes. Because it you know, it's not this slogan, this myth that you hear, like, oh, it's land for a people, a land without a people for a people without a land. No. This is Palestine. Palestine has millions of Palestinians who are living under apartheid. So you see these Israeli settlers, when they go and attack Palestinian cars, Palestinian farms, crops, houses, you have Israeli soldiers accompanying them to watch over them, to protect them while they commit arson, while they vandalize, while they bully, while they harass and murder even Palestinians. You know, how many times on camera have we seen an Israeli settler kill a Palestinian? Many times. And the Israelis don't do a thing because they want this to happen. They don't want Palestinians, they want the Palestinians to be gone so they can take their lands, you know? There's so many links that I'm actually getting lost. So, here, give me a second. This is the Palestinian ambassador to the United Nations. He's speaking to the General Assembly.
The international community has a responsibility and an obligation to ensure that the occupying power, its officials, its military forces, and settler militias perpetrating acts of terror are held accountable. It is shameful that, till now, Israel, its occupation, army, and settlers have not been listed for their crimes against our children. What justifies such disregard for Palestinian life? Palestinian children deserve better. The rule of international law deserves better. Double standards only undermine the credibility and authority of the list and of this multilateral order.
Here's another video, just found it. Like I'm swimming in these videos. Look.
يا عمي وين مروان؟ استنى شوي الرصاص شغال. الرصاص الحي شغال. يا اخوان الفزع يا اخوان. يا شباب استنى شوي. استنى ما حد يضرب على الجيش. مشكلتها مع المستوطنين. بدنا نحكي.
Oh, and here's the best part. I forgot to tell you guys that Israeli settlers are allowed to carry weapons, right? AR-15s, Glocks, you name it. So basically my point is they have both rifles and pistols, anything they like. And actually this is encouraged. This is encouraged by the Israeli government. They make it, I mean, it's a piece of cake. It is a piece of cake to get a weapon legally if you are an Israeli, and you can walk around with this. And, you know, if you happen to kill a Palestinian, oh, well, who cares? Like, you think you're going to go to jail for that? You will be rewarded for that by the Israeli government, because their whole policy is built on ethnic cleansing. Israel exists only and solely at the expense of Palestinians. What do you think? What do you think, man? You know, even actually 2 months ago, after one of the resistance operations, you saw that the Israeli government said they will now make it even easier than it already was to give them weapons. And I want you to understand something very clearly. Pay attention to this. If you take away one thing from this video, please let it be this. Every single Israeli, man or woman, is trained and has to do their military service. They are trained by the Israeli military, and they are always in the reserve army. Okay, so at the snap of a finger, right? In the blink of an eye, the Israeli government can call up the entire Israeli population, who all have military training. They are in the military, okay? Men and women. So when we talk about Israeli settlers, these are trained killers. They are trained killers. Do you understand that? And this is bankrolled, paid for by the US government. Okay, always remember that, because they want you to think like, oh, Israeli settlers are like these innocent civilians that are just walking around. No. They all have to do military service. It's mandatory. They are all trained, you know, in a wide variety of tactics. They are trained killers. Always remember that. They're not just innocent, you know, you don't just innocently build illegal settlements. You don't just innocently wind up in Palestine. Okay? Anyway, let me show you this video. This is from the United Nations. This is, again, my outlet on In Context. We posted this. Please go follow In Context, because all of these clips that you see, you know, Putin's speeches, General Assembly, UN speeches, all of the breaking news with Ukraine and otherwise, you're going to find it there in video format. So take a look at this.
This week's violence in the occupied West Bank risks spiraling out of control, fueled by strident political rhetoric and an escalation in the use of advanced military weaponry by Israel. This sharp deterioration is having a terrible impact on both Palestinians and Israelis, and we call for an immediate end to the violence. The Israeli forces conducted a series of airstrikes on Jenin refugee camp in the occupied West Bank in a major intensification of the use of weaponry more generally associated with the conduct of armed hostilities rather than a law enforcement operation. On Wednesday evening, there were further reports of an Israeli military drone strike near Jenin, killing 3 Palestinian men alleged to be members of a militant group.
Well, look, to be fair, the Israelis got their asses handed to them in Jenin, so don't be too concerned for Jenin this time. But seriously, it is of course an attack. People think like, oh, Israel is like they're the wise and clear-sighted victims who are just doing a counter-terrorism operation, quote unquote. The only terrorists here are the Israelis. A settler or in uniform, it's really the same. It's really the same thing. And Jenin refugee camp. Once again, I highlight the point that you have people who are refugees in their own country. How the hell does that make sense? Can you imagine people in the United Kingdom having a refugee camp in Manchester or in London? What the hell does that mean? Right? It's a contradiction of terms. It's an oxymoron. It shouldn't exist, and yet it exists in Palestine because Palestinians have been living under occupation, British occupation, and now Israeli occupation. But the Israelis go in, they violate what little they have left, and no one says a word. Everyone is concerned about Russia invading Ukraine. Every time Israel goes into Jenin, they are invading Palestine, and this is even after, even if you somehow accept this partition plan, which is a joke, and frankly an insult. Again, I'm looking at what other videos I have. My crack team put it together, and I want to show you this. This is Ben Gvir. Ben Gvir is Israel's so-called security minister, and he is one of the most vicious, racist people that you will ever know of or hear of. And I want you to listen to what he is saying about Palestinians, and it speaks for itself, really.
שלם, לא רק כאן, אלא בכל הגבעות שאנחנו רואים מסביבנו, צריך ליישב את ארץ ישראל. יחד עם זאת, במקביל ליישוב הארץ, גם מבצע צבאי, להוריד בניינים, לחסל מחבלים, ולא אחד ולא שניים, אלא עשרות ומאות, ואם צריך גם אלפים. כי בסופו של דבר רק כך אנחנו נאחוז כאן, נחזק את השליטה ונחזיר את הביטחון לתושבים, ומעל הכל למלא את השליחות הגדולה שלנו, ארץ ישראל לעם ישראל. אני אשים תודה לכם, אני מודה לכם על המסירות, על אהבת ישראל, על ההשקעה, על ההקרבה. אנחנו מגבים אתכם, רוצו לגבעות, תתיישבו, אנחנו אוהבים אתכם.
You know what? I agree with you, man. I agree with you. Let us take care of the terrorists, as you as you eloquently put it, and you can definitely settle Israel in Antarctica or perhaps Germany. The country that killed a lot of 6 million Jews and committed genocide. Why don't you go and take their fucking land? How about that? Yeah, I mean you have a pretty good claim. They owe you, right? To put it mildly. Why not? Why don't you take it from them? Why don't you take it from the European anti-Semites? Why does it have to be at the expense of Palestinians? Right? So I agree with you. Yeah, go to Germany, Antarctica. I don't care where you want, and build it. Yeah, and the terrorists in the Israeli government, take them with you. So you guys, you understand he's advocating. He's very clearly saying that he wants to kill Palestinians who, in his opinion, are terrorists. Which again, Ben Gvir's opinions are not exactly held in very high regard. but nevertheless, he's advocating for the ethnic cleansing of Palestinians, and he advocates. He does this through the building of settlements, right? You know, the West Bank, every single, not just house, a brick. If you lay a brick on the ground, this is illegal under international law. So where are all the advocates at CNN and the BBC and Sky News and Channel 4 and Fox, you know, who talk about Ukraine and international law? I want you to come deal with this. You know why? Because Britain helped create Israel and the United States finances Israel. So you have, you know, or show it, I wouldn't say we have, but I got nothing to do with that. You know, these governments, the British and American governments and media have a duty to deal with this and stop it, right? Because they are the ones enabling it. And I think most people, if most people actually woke up or had a good media, you know, like a real proper media, so-called fourth pillar of democracy, there's a pillar right there. You would have people disgusted, completely, really revolted by this kind of behavior and what their governments are doing in their names and financing in their names. They would be absolutely disgusted. But because we don't have good education, or shall we say a good education system and a good media, people become ignorant, you know, through no fault of their own necessarily. It's just the system is designed that way to pigeonhole them and, you know, kind of, you know, sweep everything under the rug, keep it secret. But let me tell you something, man. Most of the world, they can see very clearly what's happening, and no one supports this. This is ethnic cleansing. Make no mistake. Whether it's Ben Gvir or some random dude throwing stones, harassing Palestinians, this is ethnic cleansing. Thank you guys very much for your support. I was actually, you know, I used to call these impromptu segments. I was definitely going to cover this, of course, for you guys, and I'm glad we did. It's just I didn't have everything ready. There's a question here from Metho Nelson. Thank you, Metho, for the question. Sorry, Metho says, could you please explain why won't the Arab countries defend Palestinians? That's a good question. That's a good question. You see, it depends. Which Arab countries are we talking about? If it's Syria, Syria hasn't always been perfect with the Palestinians, but it's certainly one of the most consistent if we're talking generally, right? Since 1948. Syria, definitely very consistent. Algeria, very consistent, you know, always steadfast in their support. Now, when it comes to Saudi Arabia, you know, wishy-washy. Now, maybe it's getting better because there's a normalization of ties with Iran, and then subsequently with who? With Syria, Yemen, and then Hamas came and visited. Yeah, so a lot of people don't know that. I mean, especially in the West, because they don't, you know, media don't talk about it. It doesn't look good for the media because they try to vilify Hamas. And, you know, they only like Saudi Arabia when Saudi Arabia does what they're told. Goodbye. That's au revoir. Ma'asalame. Ma'asalame. Bye-bye. That's not happening anymore because Saudi Arabia, I hope, have finally woken up. And it seems that way because when Biden came, they're like, screw you, we're not giving you oil. And they were, you know, everybody thought Saudi Arabia is going to normalize with Israel. Guess what? No. The opposite happened. The opposite meaning Saudi Arabia are now with Iran. You know, they're cool with Iran, Syria, Yemen, Hamas. And they even said, Saudi Arabia even said, guess what? This is the Saudi ambassador to the United States. And I read his statement to you guys just a few nights ago. What did he say? He said, we are not going to normalize or talk about normalization with Israel until Palestinians get their rights. So now we're seeing more support from the Saudis. The Saudis are very important. Why? Because they are not only, you know, an oil producing nation, but hold on. it was a written statement. I thought I'd find the video for you. Doesn't matter. The Saudis, you guys remember, do you know 1970s oil crash? 1972, 73? Back then, the Saudis, they did support the Palestinians, but that's changed. And it shows you the power that you can wield against the United States and the West, meaning people think that, oh, it's about being anti-America. Nobody's anti-America. People love America. They love American culture and music and movies and the people. It's the governments. It's a few people you could fit in probably one room. The companies, the corporations, those are the people that nobody likes in America and outside America. Period. Just going back to my point, that shows you that when Saudi Arabia wants to, they can wield the power of oil against the United States. Like, oh, you're going to do this to the Palestinians? Screw you. Okay. And you had an oil shortage in the United States and, a whole fiasco, disaster. But we are not there again or yet, shall we say. Definitely a lot of Arab countries need to support the Palestinians. When it comes to Egypt and Jordan, they have ties with Israel. I mean, this is shameful. That we're talking about. All of these places used to be one country, man. One country. And now it's gone. You have different standards, you got different positions. And this, I find this, unacceptable. Give me a second to pull up this video. I want to show you this video. This is Abdel Nasser, who is this is the most famous and most beloved Arab president probably ever. An absolute legend. Listen to what he was saying here.
For his part, President Nasser sought to convince the West of the need to address the problem of the Palestinians before it provoked further violence and instability.
About the rights of the Arabs of Palestine who were expelled out of their country. We have about 1.5 million refugees expelled completely. The Israelis speak about the Nazi treatment and how they were badly treated in Germany during the Second World War and before the war and so on. They treated the Arabs the same way, expelled them, killed their children, destroyed their villages, and there was escape from Palestine to the Arab country. I was there on 40. There were the United Nations resolutions, the Security Council resolution. Nothing was fulfilled. And then Israel took everything. Took the property of those people, everything. The land, everything from us. What about the rights of these people? You are from Britain. Do you accept to give Manchester to some other people? And if you are American, I ask you, do you accept to give California to some other people? Or do you accept the status quo?
Oh my God, man. I love it. Huh? Not so nice when you put it like that.
Of occupying Manchester by some other people, by the Chinese, for instance. And then reach agreement after expelling the people of Manchester from their homes, depriving them from their property, from everything. This is the question of Palestine. This question is not represented in Britain or in the West because of the influence of the Jewish propaganda. The Arabs of Palestine want to return back to their homeland, to regain their property. What was the answer of the Israelis? The answer of the Israelis was no. They will not permit single Arab to return. And they will not give them back their property. But we can do the others. If you have a right and nobody is ready to give it to you, so the only solution is force.
What a legend. He speaks so clearly, right? and in English, right? I mean, again, there's nothing wrong with having an interpreter. Of course not. Arabic is a beautiful language spoken in 25 countries, right? I think actually more, 25 plus. But the way, the fact that he said it in English, it gives it so much more power, right? And he puts it so simply and eloquently. And, just as a side note, actually echoing that, I heard many people tell me, like, you're British, you have an English name, very English name, and people listen to you because you kind of bridge the Arab world. You can basically give a voice to Arab positions that you would never hear in Western media, So I try my best to do that, and I hope that I can do that. I just want to say that as a side note, but going back to the question of why the Arabs don't support, they did. Multiple times tried taking back the Golan Heights in Syria, Sinai, right, from Egypt, and then the West Bank, and Jerusalem, many times. But of course, the Americans bankrolled the Israelis. And the Israelis try to frame it like, oh, we are just, we are the chosen people. We are God's chosen people. Jesus Christ, like, this is a supremacy cult at this point. What do you mean the chosen people? What makes one human being better than another human being? Nothing at all. So this is like a, like I said, like some kind of supremacy complex. And the fact of the matter is, they're not superior. It's just the United States and England, they helped the Israelis. And so now we're in a situation where the Palestinians have been, robbed of their lands, robbed of their rights. You got Palestinians alive to this day. I used to joke, and I'm going to say it again, like our grandmothers, my grandmother's not Palestinian, but I'm saying our grandmothers, are older than Israel. What the hell is Israel, right? Like, what gives them the right to rob people of their homes? And I want to say there are people alive today who have keys. They still have the keys to their houses. And the Israelis like, no, this is not your house. Where's your proof? You know how many videos I've seen of Palestinians? They're walking past their homes. Their homes, but they can't go inside because Israeli settlers are living inside. And they're like staring them down. Can you imagine you go in front of your building, where your apartment is, or your house, and somebody else is inside, and they have taken your goddamn house? How would you feel? That's so humiliating. You would feel humiliated. You would feel degraded, right? So I don't care what the hell Israelis say or do. They got this has gone on for way too long. Enough is enough. And I'm glad people are waking up. Not just all over the world, but in the Arab world, because they have forgotten that if Palestinians are robbed of their rights, then you are also robbed of your rights, because this is not just disrespectful for Palestinians or human beings. This is an issue that concerns everybody. Even if you're not from an Arab country, it concerns everybody. Because this is an injustice. It's probably one of the gravest injustices. I mean, absolutely one of the gravest injustices in our lifetimes. And it needs to be finished. It's like apartheid South Africa. You can't just leave that. And even apartheid South Africa, as bad as that is, people who literally lived under it said, like, the Palestinian stuff is way worse. What the Israeli apartheid is even worse than the South African one. Just to put that into perspective. And again, it's not apartheid. Like, it's even worse. I think when you say Israel is an apartheid state, you're legitimizing it in a sense by saying it's a state. It's not a state. It's a colony. Remember that. But I know no one is trying to do that on purpose. I'm giving some of you guys a little bit of a lip. But I want to be very clear. This is about Zionism as a political ideology, because that's how it started. It's a political ideology that started in Europe. And because of it, you had mass emigration of European Jews to Palestine. So we are not talking about Jews who come from Palestine, because you're going to find a lot of Jews in the Middle East, in Syria, in Morocco, in Iraq. Of course you have Jews there. That's literally where the religion comes from. You know, where Christianity comes from, Judaism, Islam, they all come from this region. So you've got people living there together from, you got a million ethnicities and religious groups and, you know, different groups living together for millennia. So I you know, this is nothing to do with anti-Semitism or something like that. Literally anyone who comes from this region is a Semite. You know, it could be Arab, could be Syrian, you know, I said Assyrian, not just Syrian, but, you know, also Jewish. But we're talking about European, Ashkenazi, white Jews coming to the Middle East, you know. And Netanyahu, and I showed you this clip, and Netanyahu sits there and says like, oh, well, you know, this is our ancestral homeland. Motherfucker. Can you even trace back your family 10 generations, 20 generations, never mind 3,000 years? I don't know where the hell my family was 30 you know, 3,000 years ago. How do you make this stuff up? You know, I can also say, yeah, you know, my ancestral homeland is this giant apartment building in Belgravia. Okay, they don't have apartment buildings there, but this nice big house in Belgravia in London. Give it to me because it's my ancestral homeland. I'm the chosen people. What the hell is this? You know, that is literally how obscene this sounds. It is like some kind of sick comedy. It's my ancestral homeland from, you know, 5,000 years ago. Yeah, all right. The Arabs need to get their act together. I want to circle back to the question I got from you. The Arabs need to get their act together because, you know, sitting around and waiting for things to change is not going to change. The fact that Egypt, why did I show you this clip of Nasser? You know, he was a real one. He was a real one because he knew how important the Suez Canal is, right? And he was like, screw you, this is mine. This is actually not, he didn't say mine, but like, this belongs to Egypt. And he got attacked for it. You got Israel, France, and the UK who all attacked Egypt, right? 1956. The irony is that this was the collapse of well, shall we say the demise, right? The final chapter, the finale of the British and French so-called empires, right? I mean, the French can be, forget the French. But, you know, it was like the Americans came in and had to stop everything. And that really showed who's in control. Like, you know, now it's big boss Uncle Sam who's running the show. And the UK and France are no longer empires. They are nothing, and they have receded into their nothingness, right? So that's one element. But the other element is that you had nationalization of resources. I've been talking for like 3 hours straight, so give me a break. Why is this important? Because when you do that, the colonial power that was stealing and robbing you, plundering your resources, they get very mad because they can't rob you anymore, right? So when Iranians nationalize, there's a CIA and MI6 coup coming right up, right? Guatemala, another CIA coup coming right up. You do this in Egypt, nationalizing Suez Canal, there's a war coming right up. So this, you know, Nasser understood that you have to nationalize your own resources, take them back from the colonies, and show them who's in charge. And he also understood the plight of the Palestinians. And so I find this so disturbing and frankly sickening to my stomach to see Egypt now having ties with Israel. And to keep in mind, this didn't happen now. They've had ties with them for a couple decades, right? But I find it sickening. It's disgusting. It's shameful. And I don't blame the Egyptian people, because if you ask any person, don't take my word for it. Go buy a ticket right now. Go to Egypt. I'm like low-key promoting tourism in Arab countries. But seriously, go to any Arab country you like. Pick one, whatever. Morocco, Egypt, Syria, Saudi Arabia. Go ask people on the street what they think, and they're all going to tell you that Israel is wrong and they support the Palestinians. You know, you saw in the World Cup. That was beautiful. No one would talk to Israeli journalists. That was amazing. And it wasn't just Arab soccer fans, like everybody, right? But I wanted to say that they have to cut off ties. You know, Jordan, Egypt, no ties with Israel. I don't give a crap what the Americans say. The problem is that the Americans, they got the the Egyptians like by the balls. Egypt is one of the top recipients of aid from the U.S., right? They have a lot of mouths to feed. They have the largest population out of any Arab country. So they are now dependent, because of one reason or another, on U.S. aid. And the United States supports, guess who? The Israelis. You see, this is what, by the way, just as a side note, this is the difference between the Americans and the Israelis. The Americans and the Russians, because the Russians also have ties with Israel, but, they're not going to give Syria crap because Syria doesn't like Israel. Do you know what I mean? Or they have a, not perfect, but a better foreign policy in the sense that it's sort of, non-aligned is kind of funny given what happened with the Cold War and so on. But, Imran Khan, who's the Pakistani prime minister, he was talking the other day about how you have to have a non-aligned foreign policy. Now, yeah, I mean, definitely, I agree with him, but there's a red line. No ties with Israel, period. Everybody else is fine, but not Israel. So going back to my point before, this is very, very serious that Arab countries don't have their act together. And a lot of that is to blame. A lot of that blame lies with the colonial powers that control these countries. But now, they have to get back on their feet. I'm speaking in very quick terms because you guys have to consider when did this era of so-called decolonization start? It's like 1945, right? So supposedly, but these countries never decolonized completely. They still have ties, cultural, monetary, financial, political, to the former colonies in one way or another. Now, I'm speaking generally, of course, right? And you have the United States that has also kind of taken the reins from those former colonial powers. So my point here is that they need to unite. They need to do what Gaddafi said. You have a not necessarily one currency that replaces everybody else's, but one currency for trade. So you can have one currency in your country and a separate one for trade. And then, obviously this is backed by real resources, things that are actually tangible and exist, not just like, made up numbers on a screen that you just keep printing. You understand? So they were backed by actual resources. I mean, Africa, the Middle East, this is like, it's the crown jewel of everything, right? It's a cradle of civilization. It's the that's it. They need to have a unified foreign policy, and at the very least, I know we're going a bit too far now with one currency and so on, and what Gaddafi said with the golden dinar. That's great, but come on, they're never going to do that if they don't get this together on Palestine. You got countries like some other Gulf countries that also want to normalize with Israel, and they need to forget these ideas. You guys remember Trump? He did this with Bahrain and the UAE. Just so you understand, people in Bahrain are sick of what the Israelis are doing to Palestinians. But the UAE is not really. 80% of people in the UAE are foreigners. So 20% are actually Arab, which is weird. So when we talk about will of the people, I think we have to maybe leave UAE on the side. But in my opinion, it's still an Arab country. They should, but just the principle on principle, they should not be supporting Israel in any capacity, diplomatically, economically, doesn't matter. That's it. So I hope I answered your question. It only took me about half an hour, but it's your fault. You asked me, and I want to give you the whole thing. So again, I'm happy to do that, of course, right? So thank you very much, all of you, for supporting my work, and please consider joining on Patreon. How many are we right now? Claudia, help me out. How many are we? We are right now at 669. It's an improvement. So guys, we just need 31 more people to join. Please consider donating $1 a month, 2 rubles a month. You can pick any amount, any currency you like. It's just a way of supporting my work and helping me, enabling me to just, do this, to continue reporting, and you're supporting independent journalism. So please do consider it. If you want, you can send a donation on PayPal. And I'm so sorry, guys. I know I've had this problem for a little while. I'm not getting any notifications from PayPal, so I actually don't even know if somebody sent a question or not. And I will get back to you guys. So let's put that just to keep that in mind. But yeah, you can donate on PayPal. There's CashApp, Venmo. You can send me a pigeon holding cash if you want, like a homing pigeon. But yeah, that's basically it. Here, this says 673. We're actually not there yet. We are at 669. So we need to get 700. And I'm depending on you guys, and I really hope you'll support me. I'll play a crab nest for you, of course. And just checking on YouTube. Again, we had a couple of super chats. Thank you, Diana Troy of Temisira. There's your what are those, Polish? Yeah. Thank you very much for the super sticker. I appreciate it. I love seeing all the different currencies here. It's cool. Amin says, the shedding of the blood of the innocent is acceptable in reality, apparently. It's a necessary means to their ends. They are hell-bound and won't stop as long as the world stays silent. Free Palestine! Amen. Amen. Free Palestine. And thank you, Amin, for the support. And it's really... you mentioned this topic of the settler violence. The worst thing is that it's not about they're only killing people. It's the harassment and the terrorizing of people. When you're throwing stones at somebody's house, or breaking their windows and destroying their crops. Look how many videos of Israelis pulling, literally uprooting olive trees. These are things that Palestinian farmers, some of them, depend on for their income, for their livelihoods. This is terrorization. This is bullying and harassment. You are terrorizing the population. This is not just scandalous. This is literally evil. You are putting Palestinians in a constant state of fear, alarm, paranoia, and unease, Jesus, it's depressing, man. So even if, it's not just about killing, it's about this constant state of fear that they keep them in. And it's so disgusting, like settler violence. Do you think you will ever see a segment about settler violence, Israeli settler violence against Palestinians on CNN or Fox News or the BBC? I really doubt it. They'll maybe give it 2 minutes once every 10 years or something, but they'll keep funding it, That's, Congress have no problem with that. Claudia, thank you so much. Claudia has updated the Joe Biden sniffanometer. I guess I just gave it a new name. Jesus, guys, are you ready for the U.S. elections coming up? We're gonna have a blast, but not really. It's like, I can tell you from now, you are gonna have I'm trying to keep the swearing down. But it's very hard. I just wanted to say that we are gonna have a very unpleasant person elected or re-elected to office. Make no mistake about that. Nothing short of a miracle will stop the re-election of Joe Biden and or somebody just as bad as him and Donald Trump and George Bush and Obama, blah, blah, blah. Some people, I view them as a continuation of Bush. Why do I say this? Because we are living in the war of terror, not war on terror. It's a war of terror era, right? Since 2001. That is, 2001 defined the era that we live in. Things are changing, of course, but my point here is that the presidency, the administrations, the consecutive administrations that you've had in the US, really the same since George Bush. Others would say actually since George Bush Sr. or Reagan. And you wouldn't be too wrong. You would not be, you're not wrong. Okay, give me a second to update this. Claudia is very kind, and she has gracefully updated our Biden. You see Biden sniffing the thermometer. I came up with, I wanted to put a thermometer to make it easier for people to join. So, when I say easier, I mean to make it more attractive. And hey, look at that. We've got Debel Alexander and Suzanne who've just joined. Claudia, please, I know you're in the Kremlin basement right now. Can you hear me down there? No, Claudia, please update to 671. Thank you guys so much. Again, I'm going to play crab dances for Devil Alexander and for Suzanne. Thank you guys for supporting my work. I appreciate that very, very much. And if you guys want me to play a crab dance and be just as cool as Suzanne and Devil Alexander, then please support the show. Give them a round of applause. Let's go.
Clap for that, you stupid bastard. And Corn Pop was a bad dude. And he ran a bunch of bad boys.
Listen, fuckhead, you have fucking crossed the line. Claiming I'm the enemy. You got that, you goddamn son of a bitch?
I don't give a fuck what you think, bitch.
Good morning. Sunday morning.
Cut that bitch out.
Thank you for Iron Dome, which is a technical marvel.
والله انتوا كلاب بصراحة يعني. ماشي نشتغل عادي.
We lied, we cheated, we stole.
China.
And you ain't black.
There's always the macro and then there's the micro.
Do not come. Do not come.
I'm gonna come.
You talking to me? Ladies and gentlemen,
I'll have 2 number 9. The number 9 large.
we got him.
Myself, I know it's not. Why you texting? Why? You're getting nervous, man. Calm down. It's okay. Okay.
Suck my dick and choke on it. I yield my time. Fuck you.
Why? In any case, I'll definitely upload it. Don't worry. Just so you guys know, we are on every platform. So it's all synced. Thank you guys very, very much. This is very good. So I want to just say something. Let me just pull this up. I have an update. This is about Prigozhin and Putin. Give me one more second. Okay. Oh, really? Oh, wow. Okay. Okay, this is this is such a stupid. I can't take these things seriously when they start saying, "Oh, the Russian dictator Vladimir Putin." He's the president. I mean, you don't like him, but okay. Here we go. Just 1 second. I'm getting this ready. Okay, so Jesus. Okay, here it is. One moment. So this is from Dmitry Peskov, who's the Kremlin spokesperson, and this is the situation. Prigozhin, the head of Wagner, will move to Belarus. Shoigu is not going to be removed from his post as defense minister, which is what Prigozhin had wanted. The Wagner soldiers or fighters who did not take part in this uprising, outburst, whatever you want to call it, they will be offered contracts by the defense ministry. I mean, excuse me. They weren't offered contracts now. These contracts were pending for quite, a couple of weeks now, for quite some time. So I'm not quite sure this is accurate reporting here by the Washington Post. The contracts are at the heart of this issue from the beginning. But okay, my point here is I want to tell you that Prigozhin is going to move to Belarus. I think another way of saying this is he's being exiled. And he should probably be happy that it's not worse. That it's not something else. There are far worse things in the world. And what's wrong with Belarus after all? I hear it's very beautiful, but never been there. So the other thing is that the charges have been dropped, which I mentioned earlier. The FSB opened a criminal case against Prigozhin, but that's gone. And no Wagner fighters or troops will be prosecuted either. So this is the settlement, or this is what we know of the settlement that was mediated by Lukashenko, by Belarus president, to defuse the tension, the situation, the outburst between Putin and Prigozhin, or rather the Prigozhin's outburst. I say outburst as an understatement, and it's with British sarcasm, because it's so Prigozhin-like to do something, wild like this. And he really crossed the line this time. I mean, there's a difference. This is not posting videos where yelling at the defense minister, send me ammo. This is really something else. So that's it. That's the statement from the Kremlin. So you guys, so I can keep you guys up to date. And remember, I'm always going to be posting updates on Twitter between the live streams, in between. And if you're new to the channel, please subscribe. This is your spot for international relations and nowhere else. Thank you guys very much. I see on Thank you for the super chat, Crazy Puppet. Crazy Puppet says, if you think about direct benefits for Russian forces in eastern lands of Ukraine, not oil, not too far off though, very fertile land in both resources and agricultural benefits. Sorry, I'm just laughing because Sophia under you said bye, Felicia. Yeah, it really is bye, Felicia. It's like, goodbye. He should be happy. Honestly, he should be happy, because if I did that, if I had mounted a column of, again, let's not exaggerate, because there were, show me a video of 50,000 tanks from Wagner going to the Kremlin. There weren't any. He says, oh, we were within 200 miles. So what? What do you'd be airstrike before you ever got near the Kremlin, And he's lucky, because another leader might have just sent the planes. In any case, I'm not, the point here is not to encourage Putin to be more Godfather and mafia-like. I think, honestly, I really mean this. If anything, this shows you the cooler heads did prevail, and that being calm and reserved can actually get things fixed far quicker than just resorting to violence. And yes, this is happening amid a war, but who started this war? NATO. If you're angry about Russian troops in Ukraine, go complain at your nearest American embassy or British embassy. This is something that we've been screwing with the Russians for 100 years now, right? Just invading them in 1917, giving them crap even after they beat the German army to hell them back. And this whole situation is NATO's fault. Period. And I don't know what the hell Prigozhin was thinking. People are always going to speculate now. Is he working for the CIA? Did MI6 send him? Who knows? Who knows? Maybe he's just nuts. I mean, like I said, I called it an outburst because it's like he sent a bunch of tanks to a square in Rostov and then posted a video saying, well, the reasons for the war are a lie. Okay, I mean, this is, again, you're threatening the government, certainly, to an extent. Why did you do this, man? This is just dumb. He's lucky, honestly. I think somebody else, and let me be clear, I think somebody else would have suffered a far worse fate. And you have to keep in mind, this guy, he does, have a lot of troops under his command, but on top of that, they won a battle. I think it's only because of Bakhmut that they are letting him off with go live in Belarus. That this exile. Honestly, man, I think because if you want to be loudmouthed, if you want to have a big mouth, you need to have something to back it up with. Okay. And he did have something to back it up with. He was sending and training all these people to help the Russian war effort or defense effort from NATO, etc. He did go to Bakhmut. He did win, and it is the longest battle. Honestly, if he were somebody else, I don't think he'd be having a nice little exile in Belarus. So there you go. Thank you, Crazy Puppet, for the donations. Thank you, Dixit. Dixit says Shoigu is not gone until, or unless Putin wanted him to go before all of this has happened. If this was a real coup d'etat, then Prigozhin would have already been dead. I couldn't agree more with what you said. You took the words right out of my mouth. This is not a coup like people have been making it out to be. I know it sounds like very nice for the West, and they want to package it for consumption. But like Amit just said, if this were a real coup, I'm sorry. I mean, do you think they're stupid or something in the Kremlin? This guy would be gone like that. He wouldn't even. He says he was within 200 miles. He was, if he really was. And again, we should be using the metric system because if he really, if he was really in such close proximity and an actual threat, if Putin actually felt threatened. And remember, Putin, it's not about Putin, it's the Russian leadership. So we're talking about his cabinet. It includes Shoigu, it includes Lavrov, you know. If they really felt threatened, do you think they would let him drive up with his bunch of tanks? No, I don't think so. So the point here is there's a lack of discipline. There is a lack of respect for the hierarchy, and you cannot have this when you're running a country like that, you know, especially wartime, especially in wartime. This is the problem that I convey to you. Prigozhin is not an officer. He doesn't come from the military. He doesn't have a concept of shutting up and doing what he's told. Now, with that said, maybe he knows how to train fighters and so on, but you know, this whole incident, it's been boiling and brewing for a while, and you know, whether he thinks the Russian army are incompetent, and when I say army, I mean the top brass. This is another issue. It's just this like public slandering, shall we say, or lambasting of Shoigu. You're stepping out of line. I know it's funny for some people. They think he's like a wild character and unpredictable and so on. Yeah, but you know, there's a war on, so you can't have this. You can't have some guy with 25,000 troops running around doing whatever he wants, or even threatening to do it, because you make the leadership look weak. You give the impression that there's no discipline, that there's a lack of understanding. And I go back to the phrase that I told you guys yesterday, that you have this saying in Arabic, right? Like, me and my brother against my my cousin. Okay, so me and my brother will team up against my cousin, or rather, if we have a disagreement, it's just a saying, right? However, if there's an external enemy, then it's me, my brother, and my cousin against the world, right? That's the loose translation. So that means when you have an external threat, when you have a big issue to deal with, you don't start quarreling and fighting, inside your family, or so to speak, your country. You don't have time for infighting. And what Prigozhin is doing, what am I supposed to say, man? I know they're making. It's just, you can't do this, man. Anyway, that's that. And if you want, there's hold on, I'm checking in on Patreon if we got any other new subscribers. The phrase I just told you, there's one in the Bible. If you perhaps you heard of it. It's a house that what was it again? A house divided against itself shall fall. Obviously, depending on the language and which version you have in English, it will be slightly different. But you get the idea, right? Russia is a house, a family, a team, and they have an external threat. And if it's divided internally, this is, I mean, it's a threat. It's a problem. Even if Prigozhin, you take my. I think my you understand my point, and we'll leave it at that. So I've been rambling for 2.5 hours here. I mean, well, not rambling, but we said enough about Prigozhin. Anyway, thank you very much to Suzanne. Thank you everybody for supporting the show. I really appreciate it. And we got a bunch of super chats here, so thank you for that. And on Patreon, Claudia is very kind. She updated the Biden. You guys, please tell me in the comments what you want to call this thing, because it's just a weird picture of Joe Biden sniffing the thermometer. Okay, there we go. I called it the Biden. No, how about the sniffometer? In any case, we are really close to hitting 700. So please, guys, support my work if you find it informative. If you learned something new, And another way of supporting it is, of course, just spreading the word, donating, not donating, sharing the videos. I mean, sending the links, pressing the like button, leaving a comment. All of this stuff helps the channel. So thank you very much for that. And yeah, we are very close. We only need 29 more people and we will have hit the goal. So please help me finish the goal. And David has just joined. Thank you, David. David gets a crab dance. Thank you very much, my man. We are now at 672. Come on, guys. 28 people to go. Let's go. Let's go. We can do this. I trust you guys.
Clap for that, you stupid bastard. And Corn Pop was a bad dude. And he ran a bunch of bad boys.
Listen, fuckhead, you have fucking crossed the line. Claiming I'm the enemy. You got that, you goddamn son of a bitch?
I don't give a fuck what you think, bitch.
Good morning. Sunday morning.
Cut that bitch off.
Thank you for Iron Dome, which is a technical marvel.
والله انتوا كلاب بصراحة يعني. ماشي نشتغل عادي.
After we lied, we cheated, we stole.
China.
And you ain't black.
There's always the macro and then there's the micro.
Do not come. Do not come.
I'm gonna come.
You talking to me? Ladies and gentlemen,
I'll have 2 number 9s. A number 9 large.
we got him.
I showed myself. I know it's not.
I've fallen and I can't get up.
Why you texting? Why? You're getting nervous, man. Calm down. It's okay. Okay.
Suck my dick and choke on it. I yield my time. Fuck you.
That was amazing. And Claudia's asking the real questions. She said, was Corn Pop really a bad dude? Remember, don't trust Joe Biden. Don't take his comments. Thank you. During this live stream, we got a couple of new members on YouTube. So thank you very much to Nora, to Dennis, and Iron Felix. You guys rock. Thank you so much. They've unlocked green names, so their names will be highlighted in green. They're in the chat, and also emojis. I think one of them is my face, and it's stuck to their names. Haha, I got you. But Claudia is actually the one who made the rest of them, and I think they're pretty cool, man. You've got Donald Duck or Donald Drumpf. You've got Christ. We've got a bunch of people. Hold on, we got raving. Give me a second to find them. There we go. We've got Hillary, Assad, Bush. Bush has a shoe on his face. So look, look at this. Hold on, I'm putting it in the chat. Isn't that amazing? Bush with a shoe on his face. We got Maduro. We got Gaddafi. We got we got everybody, right? We got the all-star players. Charles says, I'm a former Vietnam veteran, and I am proud of these young men like Richard and Danny and the other young men that sorry, I can't see the rest of it. That a chicken after red light golden dictionary leads you do it. It went too fast, but thank you, Charles. I appreciate that very much. And Vietnam, I mean, I was talking about Vietnam the other day, like how even these weapons companies, obviously they have no respect for the environment, in Vietnam, Cambodia, Laos, the environmental damage, and of course the human casualties, and then even their own soldiers, the American soldiers who are dropping this stuff, they're hitting their own guys. You got people with a whole bunch of diseases because of Agent Orange. And do you think the Veterans Affairs, the VA, take care of them? They treat them like dog crap. So they just use them. They just use them like tools. Hey, go take these oil fields, go kill these people, go drop some bombs. Make money for us, and then come back, and we're not going to help you. That's what it is. It's disgusting, honestly. Thank you. We got IGA or IGA, I hope I'm saying it correctly, who said, good work. I appreciate that very much. And thank you for joining as a member. And thank you also to Ought No Sense. See? This is what I'm talking about. Thank you guys very much. You are very, 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 very good. And I knew I could put my faith in you. I knew I could trust you guys to help me out. Jan also just joined on Patreon. And I'm really happy. Claudia, we need to add more emojis, okay? I need to advertise this thing better. So you guys let me know. Here's Castro. We got everybody here. Thank you, Heinz. Look at that. We got Heinz who just joined as a member. Send me a bottle of relish, please. Thank you very much. Oh, by the way, I have a new shirt that I'm working on. Man, I want to tell you guys, but I'm not. I have to contain my surprise, or rather, contain my excitement because I want to keep it a surprise. I've been working on this goddamn thing for months, not because it's complicated. It's just, you know, not too much work. But I can't wait. I can't wait to put it out. Hold on. Store.richardmedhurst.com. That is the thing. I'm plugging. I'm plugging the store. Apparently, there's like I forgot about this. I put a permanent discount with Corn Pop. Corn Pop was a bad dude. Wait, what did he say? Corn Pop was a bad dude, and he ran with a bunch of bad dudes? What? Who cares? I mean, trying to quote Biden will make you unwell. So yeah, look, we got Chanclas for all the war criminals united with some slippers, some quality slippers on their goddamn faces. I mean, these are just stickers, but you can put them on a shirt and everything. There's Hillary Clinton. We got the Dope Lion. So Mona, I have to credit Mona. She was actually here in the chat earlier, and I was so happy to see her. She is the artiste who helped me with all of this, right? So me and her are both Leos. We're both born in August, so you know we are the best. I don't know anything about zodiac signs, but I know that Leo is the best. So that's the only thing that matters. There we go. She made that for us and stylized my name in Arabic. I think it's really cool, and I love it. I don't have this white shirt. White hoodie. I got the black one. So yeah, and she helped me set this whole thing up. So yeah, this is the one that people like the most. So I came up with this idea when Biden became president that, you know, this guy's a war criminal. His administration did Libya, you know, did Syria, Rwanda. So how can I encapsulate and capture the sentiment and air of Joe Biden's cabinet? Well, Uncle Joe's Rainbow Coalition Death Cult. Sorry, but I really think it's funny as hell. So I told her, please get me some drones, get me some Predator drones. I want some cruise missiles, a jet dropping some bombs, and yeah. And it says if the sanctions don't kill you, the drones will. Right? It's you know, you gotta laugh, otherwise they'll make you cry the whole time. Anyway, that's it for me, guys. Thank you so much, all of you, for helping out, for supporting the show, for joining. Really just good stuff seeing you all. And by the way, if you're new, subscribe. And for those of you who already subscribed, please make sure you hit the bell, because I can see how many of you have hit the bell icon. YouTube sees all. The Google Illuminati eye informs me of what of whether you click the bell icon. I'm serious. It says somewhere in the analytics. Hold on. There's a percentage at least in any case. Oh yeah, there we go. I see. I'm not going to bore you with this. I'll find it later, but just hit it, okay? And if you want to get notifications by email, the address is RichardMedhurst.substack.com. So this is a very simple form. You have a box and you hit subscribe. I don't spam people with newsletters or ads or anything. I don't email you for anything except when I go live. So you have a link. That is it. I goddamn loathe newsletters. I hate them with a passion. So here, I'm not into that, okay? This is very simple, and it's only so you are notified when I go live. That's it. There's over 2,000 of you who are subscribed. And when I publish an article, when I do some investigative journalism, that's where I'll put it. But other than that, nothing else. So thank you guys very much for tuning in. I'll play one last crab dance because so many of you have just joined. Thank you guys very, very much. I love you. Let's go. Come on, one more.
Clap for that, you stupid bastard. And Corn Pop was a bad dude. And he ran a bunch of bad boys.
Listen, fuckhead, you have fucking crossed the line. Claiming I'm the enemy. You got that, you goddamn son of a bitch?
I don't give a fuck what you think, bitch.
Good morning. Sunday morning.
Cut that bitch off.
Thank you for Iron Dome, which is a technical marvel.
والله انتوا كلاب بصراحة يعني. ماشي نشتغل عادي.
We lied, we cheated, we stole.
China.
And you ain't black.
There's always the macro and then there's the micro.
Do not come. Do not come.
I'm gonna come.
You talking to me? Ladies and gentlemen,
I'll have 2 number 9s. A number 9 large.
we got him.
I told myself, I know it's not.
I've fallen and I can't get up.
Why you texting? Why? You're getting nervous, man. Calm down. It's okay. Okay.
Suck my dick and choke on it. I yield my time. Fuck you.
Guys. Thank you. Yo, I said I was going to finish, but actually there's one more thing that we need to cover very quickly. And hold on. Here it is. Give me a moment. This is in the Guardian, okay? It's from April. Christians are in danger under Israeli government. So the head of the Roman Catholic Church in the Holy Land has warned in an interview that Netanyahu's far-right government has made life worse for Christians in the birthplace of Christianity. The 2,000-year-old Christian community has come under increasing attack with the most right-wing government in Israel's history, emboldening extremists who have harassed clergy and vandalized religious property at a quickening pace. Again, be careful when you hear this phrase, because they try to make it seem like, well, if Netanyahu left and there was a different prime minister, then Israel would be okay. No, Israel's existence is always at the expense of Palestinians. And then you have these Israeli Zionists who say, oh my God, they don't want to make peace with us. They want to get rid of us. You're the one getting rid of the Palestinians. There is no Palestine because of you. Israel is the one that has a navy, an army, an air force, billions of dollars from the United States. Israel has every accolade and imaginable. Israel is in control. Where is this two-state solution? They're not interested in one. Why should Palestine or the Arab countries give a chunk of their land to a bunch of European settlers? People are complaining about refugees coming into Europe, which Europe created, right? They forget to mention that. What do you think Palestinians feel like then, when you got Europeans coming to Palestine and pretending that this is, they have a right to take the land because they are the chosen people? What the hell is that? How do you sell that? How do you sell this idea? How do you convince someone who doesn't believe in God, who's not religious, that this is your land? Huh? What do you say then? So, you know, just to show you here again, this is from January this year, okay? You've got Israelis vandalizing the Jerusalem cemetery, right? So they smashed a cross that was on somebody's grave. Here's a video of them vandalizing a Christian cemetery.
Yep, they just threw that down.
You know what this reminds me of? This reminds me.
In our...
Wow. I mean, how Israel is a democracy. Oh yeah. Wow. This reminds me of people who vandalize Jewish graves and put swastikas on people's graves. It's just as disgusting, honestly. You know, and this shows you once again that this has nothing to do with, it's like Jews versus Arabs, something. No, man. Israeli Zionists hate all Palestinians, Muslim Palestinians, Christian Palestinians. I should say Arabs, actually, because people forget Syria is also under occupation, right? And we were talking about the Golan Heights the other day. Golan Heights, you got lots of Christians and lots of Druze, right? So both Muslim and Christian, right? Here, look. This is the Archbishop and caretaker of the Protestant cemetery. Well, at least I'm glad the Israelis are vandalizing both Protestant and Catholic cemeteries to really show how they hate everybody equally. That's good. Oh man, honestly, it's sad. You know, it's really sad. Let me show you some more from this article from what they were saying. Okay. So they're quoting Pizzaballa, who is the Vatican-appointed Latin Patriarch, okay? And he's the one who's saying that they're coming under attack. The 2,000-year-old Christian community has come under attack. And he said the frequency of these attacks, the aggressions, has become something new. These people feel they are protected, that the cultural and political atmosphere can now justify or tolerate actions against Christians. So he's talking about the Israeli settlers. Again, they're not extremists. All Zionists are extremists, not just Netanyahu's people, you know. And they say here that the patriarch's concerns, Pizzaballa's concerns, appear to undercut Israel's stated commitment to freedom of worship, enshrined in the declaration that marked its founding 75 years ago. Wow. You know, how wonderful of you to join us. Well done. Have you finally woken up, perhaps, or is this just one person at the Guardian and everyone is still asleep? Wakey, asshole. Yeah, guess what? Israel is not a democracy. Its constitution is worthless. It doesn't mean anything. It's just maybe it looks good on paper. And how nice of you to finally join us and report, you know, and tell the truth. The Israeli Foreign Ministry then tell The Guardian that Israel's commitment to freedom of religion has been important to us forever. Yeah, sure. It's the case for all religions and all minorities that have free access to holy sites. This is a flat-out lie that I showed you multiple times. You know, I'm almost. It's not. I'm not getting tired. It's just I feel like, you know, I'm almost like I'm spent, you know, and exhausted of showing you over and over the same thing of Israelis attacking Muslims in the Aqsa Mosque. And then what happened during Easter, like a few months ago? What did I show you? The Israelis cordoned off the church. They said, like, of the Holy Sepulchre, they said that instead of, I think it's 10,000, which is, I think I might have to look that up again. Well, is it 10,000 they can fit in there? That's insane. Anyway, the point is not the number. It's that they told the church officials and Christians that they cannot enter because they are limiting the number of people who can come from Holy Mass for security reasons, right? They make up arbitrary rules and then say, oh, it's for security reasons. Whose security? What security? Why? It's Easter. People, you don't let people go to church. This shows you how Israel, they don't care about anyone except Zionists. Even if you look at Jews who were anti-Zionist, they assassinated them. I'm talking about when it was still under British occupation, so Israel didn't exist yet, right? It's pre-1948. You had some Jews, and you still have many Jews who are not Zionists. They are anti-Zionist. And you had, this is in Ronen Bergman's book. So he's an Israeli, and he wrote this book about Israeli Mossad assassinations. And he's like telling you from the very beginning, before Israel even existed, the militias that made Israel, made up the IDF later, they were assassinating and murdering people from the very beginning. British officers, Arabs, Jews who are not Zionists, who are anti-Zionist. So, I mean, it shows you that this is all about politics. It's not a religious issue. It's a political issue. If you are against Zionism, they'll kill you. They'll smear you. They'll attack you. They try to go after your reputation. They make wild shit up that has nothing to do with the core issue that Israel is colonizing Palestine. They're abusing Christians, Muslims, Jews alike. Some of the people being evicted from Sheikh Jarrah, correct me if I'm wrong, at least one of them is Jewish, right? So they don't even care about Palestinian Jews, because they just want to get it out and have European settlers move in, get the community out, of Sheikh Jarrah. So, this is also another thing that I should point out. I forgot what I was going to say. I had multiple points in my head, but this is upsetting. This is upsetting. What can I say? It's disgusting. And I know usually Muslims are the ones who bear the brunt of these attacks, but really when it comes down to it, it's nothing to do with the religious issue. And you have a lot of Arab Christians. I don't know the exact percentage in Palestine. I know in Syria it's 10%. So 10% of the population are Arab Christian, like myself. Arab Christians are a minority in Syria. Are they discriminated against? No. Christians are one of the most well-protected. All minorities are, but Syrians enjoy every freedom and every protection in Syria. Right? And look at how Israel treats Christians. Look at how Israel treats Muslims, Jews. They have no respect for freedom of religion. They have no respect for anyone's rights. This is a colony, and it's being run as such. So keep that in mind with these settler attacks. They'll go after anybody who's not a Zionist. Guys, thank you so much. I appreciate the support. I'm gonna tune out right now. And again, thanks so much for coming by, and I appreciate you signing up to support the show. That's very good. I'm very glad. We got a bunch of people on Patreon and everything. So thank you. Take care. Ma salamri. Bye bye.
The war didn't start in February last year. Yeah. The war started in 2014. And since 2014, NATO allies have provided support to Ukraine.
NATO was going to shoot Putin in the foot either fucking way. So, he had no choice but to do XYZ, right? Going to Ukraine. Now, I don't know about the annexation, but you understand? Because the other side of the argument is that, if you don't stand up to a bully, and NATO is a bully, they're going to keep pushing you around and taking more and more and more. And this is going to, you have to understand, this history begins in 2014, right? Putin did not wake up on February 24th, last year and just fucking randomly decide to invade a country. I'm not saying that was the best decision, but there is history here, and a very, very big geopolitical battle right in Ukraine, and the Ukrainians are, of course, the ones that suffer the most. You see this often, that you have these Europeans lecturing Africans. You see the French doing it in Mali, in Chad, in Algeria. Even today, I'm not talking about back 100 years ago only. Even today, the West is so envious and they're dying inside at the idea and at the prospect of China coming in and forging nice relations with Africa. Because the European mentality is, we're gonna fuck Africa, we're gonna plunder Africa, we're gonna rape Africa, enslave Africa. The Chinese don't have this sick, disgusting mentality when they deal with other people, and certainly not in Africa. You see? Try going to the UK as an Iraqi or a Syrian. Look how they will play games with you, with the pretending it's the bureaucracy. It's disgusting, the imbalance. It's the Europeans who should be rolling out a red carpet for the people that they colonized and oppressed, not the other way around. Please ask yourself this question. Be honest with yourself. What do you think the United States would do if China was arming militias or even the armed forces, the official armed forces of Cuba? Do you think they would just like sit there and watch this and do nothing? Now, I'm not saying it's like, oh, you have to go to war and war is the only solution. No. My point is that you are, instead of doing diplomacy, you are provoking and imperiling everybody's security. We're talking now about nuclear armed countries, and Russia's one of them, pitted against each other. What the fuck more do I have to say, or do people have to do for this generation, the people on this planet, to understand the gravity of the situation? In the 1960s, at least people grasped, oh shit, there might be nuclear war. I'm gonna build a bunker in my backyard. This stuff is serious. Now everyone's like, no, Ukraine, come on, it's for Ukraine. I love paying higher gas bills. Oh, I love it. Please exploit me. There was a trend towards normalization with Israel, right? Bahrain and the UAE normalized ties with Israel. And I told you myself, Saudi Arabia is next. And that was true. Saudi was going to be next, or one of the next, to establish ties with Israel. But that trend, after these fake Abraham Accords, is gone. Now, the trend is going in the opposite direction. It's the opposite. Instead of Saudi looking towards Israel, Saudi is looking towards Syria, Iran, Yemen. And trust me, the rest of the Middle East and the world will follow suit, right? Because the peace deal between Iran and Saudi Arabia has created the political landscape where things like this are possible. So once again, we are entering a new phase here. There's a new reality, a new political reality in the Middle East, and it's unfolding right before your eyes. It's serious and it's real, both on the diplomatic front, right, and on the battlefield.